Yes, we are live. The man, the myth, the legend, Thanpolas. Oh man, this man's intelligence and wisdom. I'm like a mere atom in this man's universe. This man
Stop
can
it,
snap
please,
his fingers,
please.
and my brain can.
Come on.
I'm like a tiny little tick on the back on this man's backside, sucking all the amount of knowledge I can. The size of my intelligence. Dread knights and sages marvel at this man's wisdom and intelligence. Here we are.
Hello.
Dan, the man with Difky. How's it going, my man?
All right. How are you?
Doing awesome. Doing awesome. We've been talking for weeks about having this guy on the channel. I love this guy.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
inviting me.
I think he does a lot. I think botting. So if you've seen prior videos, we'll hit on this. Botting, I think, is good for the ecosystem. It causes people to get more engaged in the game. It causes people to actually want to play the game more. It causes people to buy more heroes instead of you get quest fatigue is real. Quest fatigue is a problem right now as this game is building. It's like building blocks. It's building a foundation, and we've been in a season of just questing, and it will totally wear you out. And even guys like Ogre in the house, who he's just like, my guys are just sitting there. I don't have time to quest them. And so he's selling heroes instead of buying more heroes. He's sold tons of heroes. He still has a whole bunch. He's still into Defi Kingdoms. It's just too much. If you can't have a life, and then it puts you at a disadvantage. Whereas the opposite happens if you have a bot, you get more engaged into the game and you just do more with the game and it makes you more exciting. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. You enjoy the fine parts of the
Yes.
game. You don't have to do the mundane, repetitive tasks that require no skill.
Mm-hmm.
So you focus on what requires skill, which is understanding the game, the strategies, the leveling up, how you're going to purchase heroes, how you're going to deploy them.
Yes. Okay. So the biggest concern, the thing I want to talk about for sure is that almost everyone's number one concern when it comes to third-party botting on DeFi Kingdoms is security. Let's talk security with Difky. So this is, again, Thanos. He has a botting service called Difky. And I'll have his Discord. And the Discord is usually in the description anyways. Not when we go live, though. So I'll be sure to put his Discord in this video at the bottom. You can look into his service. Go ahead on the security.
Right. So, there are several aspects to consider around security. First of all, the biggest division is whether the service is custodial or non-custodial. A service like DFK Earn, which is contracts deployed on the blockchain that are verifiable through open source, are non-custodial solutions, which means that as you stake your heroes, there is nobody on the other end, keeping custody of those heroes. So in a way, it's a trustless solution. Now, naturally, there are risks involved with that as well, and you need to be aware of them. And when we're talking about risk, in particular on the information security industry, these are effectively, you start from a risk assessment. And the risk assessment is a matrix of, what threats do I perceive and how do I mitigate them? And the mitigation comes through policies or controls. Policies are, I say that I'm not going to install any third-party software or pirated software on my computer. A control is having an antivirus on my computer that controls me and, forcefully holds me from installing malware.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are the biggest vectors of attack when it comes to custodial solutions like Difky and the other bots like Waifu or DFK Quester? I've broken them down into three major categories, divisions, if you like. First and the foremost, and the biggest one, the biggest concern is a malicious author.
Yes.
So the author is malicious.
Yes.
They implant, malicious software that tracks you, does nefarious stuff, etc. The other second most, highest in the risk assessment matrix is user error. So
what?
I had user error.
User
As a
error.
user,
Yes.
yeah, and this has multiple facets. I mean, I'm going to give you a couple of real life examples. I had a user, as you copy your private key, they pasted it on Discord.
I heard about this. I heard about that.
I mean, that's a breach and a compromise at the same time,
But you came and saved the day, right? That turned out you just helped him get all his deleted it
Yeah,
immediately.
it just happened that I was in the right place at the right time, but that couldn't be the case, right?
I love it. Yes.
And the third is the risk of a breach. So you have your computer compromised.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those three vectors of attack basically apply to the entirety of DeFi. So if you take them and let's say that we apply them now on DFK or any other DeFi project, malicious author, that means the project rugged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Luna, well, that wasn't necessarily malicious, but there are many other projects that the author, literally rugged. They minted the NFTs, went off with the money,
right,
and now they're in summer vacation, somewhere tropical.
And unfortunately, there's way too much of that in this wild, wild west.
Right.
Yeah.
The second vector, user error. Well, that's scamming. You go on a support channel, you ask for help, you get 5 DMs from Mr. Zipper and the other moderators claiming that they are the moderators, and you are scammed into giving your seed phrase.
Mm-hmm.
And the breach computer compromised, well, people get hacked, like Ogre, right?
Yeah. Which still blows my mind that happened to him.
It happens. It happens.
Yes, a lot.
It happens. So, as you said, we understand that all of crypto has risk. And the entire space requires diligence, knowledge, and a basic understanding of IT. That goes hand in hand with crypto. You should, if you walk in barefooted, you're most likely to get scammed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we go back to Difky's security model, how Difky approaches the risks and mitigates them is effectively the same as your MetaMask. So you give your private key once, it gets stored on your local computer encrypted. It's exactly the same thing that happens with MetaMask. Mm-hmm. If your computer gets breached by an actor that has intention of reaching your keys, then you have a breach. Now, a breach can be, what we call a drive-by breach, like your computer got compromised by a random malware, which is a ransomware and locks your hard disk and asks you for money. You got breached, but the malicious actor didn't necessarily know that there are keys in that computer to take advantage of them. So you have the time between the breach, considering you have backups of your keys, to go into a safe computer and move your assets out. So, a breach doesn't necessarily mean that your private keys get compromised. It needs to be an escalated kind of breach by a very malicious actor that has intention of getting to your keys. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So got it. And that they can only do that by hacking your computer. So keys never go into Discord or anything like that ever. It's just you download software onto your computer from Difky, and that's what works. That's how the bot works. And the Discord just gives it commands. Discord then communicates with the software that you download. Is that right? Is that how that works?
I mean, we're going to get to that part on how Difky works, but now since we discussed security, and I mean, that is part of the security, which is Difky, once it runs, what it does is it logs on to Discord. You have a private channel that's only dedicated to you. And you control your bot, you configure your bot through Discord.
Okay. And what if someone's Discord somehow got hacked?
Yes, very good question.
Does that put your private keys at risk or anything like that?
No, it does not.
Okay.
And by design, the commands that you issue from Discord are non-harmful, non-impactful. So you configure things like training quests, level up configurations, starting or stopping quests, anything that is potentially hazardous, can potentially create a lot of damage, is handled through the command line. So you have to go through DOS and issue the command to move your heroes or move your items or bridge your heroes, or anything that can potentially harm you is not available on Discord by design. That is a practice of containing the blast radius,
Okay,
as we call
gotcha.
it.
So that's really kind of what you're saying, is that's essentially the only risk, is that if your side somehow got hacked or there was a malicious player on your end. You have staff, don't you? You have some staff working
No,
for
I
you?
do not.
You
No, no,
don't.
no,
You don't have any staff.
no,
Uh,
no.
Why did I think you told me one time that you had like 8 staff? Why was that in my head? I don't know
Probably I
why.
was trolling you. If that happened, I was trolling.
Okay. For some
But
reason,
I doubt that happened. I
you
cannot
had
recall
hired
this
staff.
conversation.
So all of this is your own genius, baby. You created this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a single author. Yeah, much
Okay.
like
So
everybody.
what are the
Else.
chances of somehow your side of things getting hacked and then affecting other people's botting service?
Right. That's a very good question, and
Okay.
that is exactly the reason why Difky has the architecture that it has, much like Waifu, which
Okay.
is it is distributed. So we build the binaries and you run them on your computer. If we get breached, and we'll reach to the point how likely that is, it is our personal keys that get breached. Now, to reach to a point where the malicious actor has managed to breach our computers and insert malicious code within the source code of Difky and publish Difky, these are, the likelihood of each step that I'm saying now is highly minuscule.
It's almost
And
impossible, you're saying. So
it's
because they
almost
would have to hack
impossible.
both your side and my side both? Or is that what you're saying? Or
Sorry, come again?
would they have to hack your side of things, like through your botting
They would
side?
have to hack my computer, and effectively they would have to, well, I don't know if we should say that, but in a sense, use the range with the range, threaten my life to force me to publish a malicious version of Difky with the code that they have inserted, and then keep
Oh,
me captive long enough so that I will not warn you that this new published version is malicious. So it
oh.
requires physical access.
Okay. So they even if they hacked your computer, they would still need your cooperation
Yes.
to even accomplish that. So it's essentially impossible unless
Yes.
somebody was holding you at gunpoint.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying now, and to the point of whether I'm going to get breached or not. That goes back to my experience being an industry veteran and being, in particular, on the security industry for quite a long while. So what I would say is that all of my practices are kosher in terms of how I control my environment, the network that I'm in. I've gone into extensive efforts and resources so that I have a guest Wi-Fi network, so it doesn't intermix with my LAN. I have like 3 access points on my home so that my friends that come in with their Androids that might have malware are contained within their own local network. And, and that is because I've gone through these exercises through when I was working back in corporate, where you don't mess around with this kind of stuff. The matrices of risk assessment reach out to how your spouse behaves. So, I had to sit down my wife and explain to her, look, if you get breached, I get breached, my company gets breached, we all go to hell. So XYZ principles, protocols cannot be broken.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that for way many more years than I've
Yeah.
been doing Difky.
Right. Okay. Wow. I love it. So essentially, here's the summary. It's almost the chances of you getting hacked by using Difky bots are almost zero, essentially.
Yeah.
Unless you make your own mistake with the private keys, which never post your private keys where anybody else can ever see them ever.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So in like even OX access, baby, in the house. So he said, and I've heard this before, Difky is doing something to the tune of 20% of all of DFK's transactions. Is that right? So you have a lot of heroes that you have under your custody, or not custody. That's the wrong word.
Management.
Management. Okay. Right. Because heroes are never in Difky's custody ever, just to make that clear.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So
yeah,
how many heroes
at this point, we have more than 18,000 heroes under management. We are nearing 20K.
Okay.
And, if you...
40,000 or something, no? 18,000. No. Okay.
18. So if you multiply that times 3 quests, times 2 transactions each, times all of the other traffic that goes down, like level ups, move, bulk transfers. There are power users that move daily from 30 accounts, all of the items that they have quested.
Yeah.
Those are hundreds of transactions every day.
Yeah.
So that amounts to 20 to 30% of the traffic.
I love it. And Difky, my understanding is that Difky can do it all. There's like nothing Difky can't do. You can do stampot, like auto stampot your heroes, and they will auto level. You can auto level up your heroes. You were able to do auto duels. What can't you do? I mean, is there anything you can't do, baby?
Yeah, there is, and this is what I'm working on now, which is automatically sell and quest your hero. So you set a selling price for a hero. They go on sale up until the stamina recovers. Then they get off sale. They quest, go back to sale.
That is phenomenal.
And I'm also doing a universal inventory for power users that have 10, 20, 30 accounts. If one account runs out of runes or gold or any other resource that's needed for operation, then they are automatically balanced from the other accounts transferred.
Really?
Gas.
I mean, that is like phenomenal.
Those are things Difky cannot do, which I'm working on now.
Wow. I mean, that is just absolutely phenomenal, because one thing that always gives me hesitancy to want to even try and sell a hero, which right now it's tough to sell a hero because contests are down.
The market has gone down.
Higher level heroes, like if you have a basic higher leveled hero, they're just, man, that floor has really dropped ever since contests were shut down. Hopefully that comes back soon, the contest, because I had so much fun competing for those contests when I was manually questing 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, about to blow my brains out, going crazy, questing all the time, because I lost all my money, baby. Right here, your crypto expert, right here on trying to help you maximize your losses, right here. Just kidding.
So going back to Xerox Access's point, 20-30% is just Difky. If we add up all of the bots that are in existence, it's an easy assumption to say that it's 90-95%. And that is to say that, this is a strong message this should be a strong message to DFK. Not that, bots are proliferate, that's a given, but, why is there botting when there shouldn't be in the first place?
Right. Yeah. And so the team, this is my personal takeaway, and I could totally be wrong here. My personal takeaway about the anti-botting sentiment that's out there, that's weird to me. And we're just talking about questing bots and basic things like you just said, where you can list a hero for sale and then it'll automatically unlist and quest for you when the stamina is full. And then once it's done questing, it'll relist it for sale, on its own. things like that he's working on. My thought has always been that the team isn't actually against botting at all. It's just a lot of the community feels like they're being at a disadvantage, and so they bitch about it on there. And then so sort of the team with DeFi Kingdoms takes a neutral stance on it and kind of says, "Oh, we're not promoting any third-party botting service, and we're not even going to allow it to be hardly talked about, like on the general chat, because we don't endorse the third-party botting." Am I wrong? You know this better than me. How against botting is the team? Also, they have this new update coming out where they were hoping to get it done by last night, but it didn't get done. And so they just launched the gardening quest. But they talked about like single click, multi-questing your heroes with one click, essentially, and then also collecting all your heroes with one click. Things like that they're working towards to make it easier, the questing experience for your average Joe easier. Go ahead. What are your thoughts on that? They don't seem against botting in my mind, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, let's take it from backwards, from the multi-bulk auctions that you mentioned. You've seen DFK Quester, right? The amazing work that has been done there.
Okay, and that's this website. Is it DFK Quester? Yeah, DFK Quester.
I saw you use it on your streams.
Yes. No, they have a botting service that I don't.
It's not a botting service. It's not a botting service. What they have done is effectively build the UI DFK should have built. So everything happens on the browser. You sign the transactions using your MetaMask, so there's no exchange of private keys. So it just prepares the transactions for you to sign them in a bulk format. So you just select all your fishers. It automatically batches them to 6. If you have, like, say, 30, you get 5 batches of 6.
Oh.
And then you say quest, and it pops you up 5 MetaMask transactions to approve.
Really?
Do you understand?
And
Yeah.
You can do that right now? Is that?
Yeah. No installation required, nothing. You just...
That's on the Quester side of things.
Yes.
Wow. I've never even looked at that tab. I've always left that tab unexamined.
So, that was a hobby project by Born to Die.
Yeah.
I believe that's the name.
Yeah, Born to Die 007, baby.
There you go. Right. And he did that on his free time. And now you have, DFK, whose job it is to make that happen for the users. And we're still debating it, whether it's going to come, etc. So, DFK Quester has put to shame DFK, because that's the concept. They have built the UI that DFK should have in the first place.
Okay. Wow.
Right?
Right. Wow.
Yes. So, and that is, that goes back to the security issue. I mean, there is a small risk there that, Born to Die might give you transactions to sign that are malicious.
Okay.
But you go back to, you're saying, Born to Die, I know him, I trust him. He's doxed. He's not going to do that for us. He's trying his best to prove that he doesn't do that through multiple means. Right. So, it's an even smaller risk factor to use this service, say from a Difky or a Waifu that is more involved and requires private keys, handling, etc., where mistakes can happen, right?
The risk there is that someone could somehow maybe access his whatever computer. And
again, we go back to the scenarios that we talked about around the author getting breached or the author being malicious.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned you thought this is something the team should have done long ago. Why do you think the team didn't do that? What do you think the team's view on botting actually is?
Well, the team is comprises of multiple members. Now, there are the developers, the literal developers of the team, like Frisky and Pinecone. Those people know and understand that crypto and bots go hand in hand. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is the crux of the issue there, which is education and being informed around the environment of where you operate and run on. So, the entire anti-bot sentiment, I would say that, in a sense, started from Frisky Fox by throwing the builders under the bus,
Oh,
so as to deflect responsibility when the massive hacks happened. So, this whole story started from, them saying that we do not endorse botting, uh, despite, these issues being raised from back in February. Like, hey, folks, you have built a game here that's very bottable, and, this should be fixed because we are having an edge. And then the mining exploit happened, and, blame was shifted to botters.
oh, okay.
And this trickled down to moderators who themselves are not informed or educated on the topic. They're not,
Yeah,
IT literate, let's call it.
yeah.
So, in a sense, subconsciously, they themselves thought as the righteous move to hold a staunch position against bots confusing video games with crypto.
Okay.
And that's basically the entire misunderstanding there. That is, people confuse DFK as a video game when it's not.
Yeah.
And so you had
right.
And so you had no more than 10 people that didn't have more than 10 heroes each, bitching daily on Discord.
Right. Yeah, people that have just hardly any heroes on there bitching about bot.
And that voice, got amplified by the fact that the moderators silently agreed with what they were saying, in a sense. Again, I'm not blaming, I'm just saying the way it happened, because the way it happened was that you had heroes losing their shit, going like batshit ape crazy, attacking primarily me personally in front of moderators.
Personally on that.
Sorry?
So
yeah,
you
many times.
attacked the most.
Huh. Absolutely, yeah, and that's because I'm most of the time on Discord. I'm an easy person to target, and therefore it's an easy scapegoat, right? Because there are botters that you don't even know the names of, hundreds of them. Okay, if you go into into our developers Discord, you're gonna see that there's traffic from people that you haven't never heard of. But Thanpolas is there every day. It's very easy to scapegoat. It's very easy to accuse. It's very easy to slander and libel, and make disparaging comments on a daily basis. Back then, when the heat was on, and moderators just sat idle and never enforced rules, never enforced decency. So, in a sense, it's one could argue that this happened. This was facilitated, and the reality couldn't be further from that very, very, very unfortunate case, because wherever the community expressed itself, and I'm talking about massively, like on Reddit, on the Builders Forum, right? On the Builders Forum, there were two proposals, mine and DFK Earns, for a co-marketing application back before it was cool. And we received 100% positive comments from 15, 20 people that, put their necks out there and registered on the forum and wrote their positive comments. Likewise on Reddit, when the issue was raised, 300 upvotes on the topic, all 56, 60 comments were overwhelmingly positive.
About Difky.
About botting, not Difky, botting in general.
Right.
Because everybody understood the points that you are making around botting, that, hey,
sure.
Let's not go through them again.
Yeah.
So what happened is that, in a sense, moderators have a very narrow view, let's call it, of the community, that is only what happens on general. And what happens on general is basically, not more than 10 people that are simping, they are constantly for the moderators, etc.
Yeah.
And they formulate their entire picture around the community from what happens on general on Discord. Whereas the entire community, and then they call it, the community has a negative anti-bot sentiment. No, that's not true.
Yeah, it's
And
not true at
you
all.
cannot raise a single post on the internet of someone making the case against bots. Not a single one.
Right. Sergeant Filthy McNasty, baby. He couldn't even find somebody to argue with you in the debate hardly that was against botting. Like,
so where does this come from? Does it even exist, this sentiment?
Yeah, right. It's so, but it just from people that I remember feeling so I can relate to the idea of like, I was in my bed manually questing 12 hours a day trying to compete for the contest. And I felt like, man, I'm going up against these bots essentially, but it was almost like a pride thing. I'm going to beat them anyways, baby. Like sometimes I would even set my alarm at certain times of the night so I could wake up and quest, like competing for those contests. And then
that's
when
not healthy. That shouldn't be the case.
I got first, on the daily contest. And it was like, stick it to those botters, out there.
So what do you have? Bottom line, what do you have? Basically, you have the community going against each other.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I honestly,
instead of addressing the real cause, because botting is not the problem, it's the symptom. The problem is DFK has done a poor job on delivering user experience so that you wouldn't need botting.
Okay, so when you say they've done a poor job, why do you think they didn't make it like essentially? Why do you think they haven't done what Born to Die 007 with DFK Quester has done already? Do they have a valid hesitation to just?
No, it's not a hesitation. It's a lack of skill and it's a lack of appreciation.
Lack of skill?
Yes.
Really?
Because well, yeah, you need to understand that to each their own, and there are many specialties and are very verticalized specialties. So when you hire a developer, the developer develops. Then you need a designer to design, and then you need a UX researcher to do the research and provide the user experience angle. That is the piece that was missing and is missing from the Defi Kingdoms team. There is no person that carries the UX title and is empowered enough to say, hey, that's messed up. Up until very recently, I believe up until July, the entire TFK team was in complete denial around the problem that is caused by questing.
They were in denial about that, you said. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's no problem. I mean, yes, I quest my 100 heroes daily, a moderator said at some point when confronted with the issue, the topic back in the heated days. Right.
No, it is a problem. It's a real problem.
It's only very recently that has been, I can't say acknowledged, but in the sense that they came out and said, yes, we need to do that. But evidently, based on the bulk questing screenshots that we've seen, now they are switching gears. They're going back and doing it right.
Yeah. Well, and so to be fair about the team, okay, Frisky Fox started this from nothing, essentially, created this, and he didn't know what he was even getting into. Like as far as I'm a business guy, I've started businesses and been real successful in business. And even at times when I thought I knew what I was doing, I really didn't have a clue when it comes to how to create an organization, a leadership team, how to hire and fire and create systems and processes that are in place. That took me years to learn.
Me too, decades.
I mean, it took me, I would say a full decade of learning things the hard way.
We have sunk too many ships to learn.
Oh my goodness. Basically lost my marriage, over this. Like, it's just completely been crazy. And a real good book on this is called The Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS by Gino Wickman, called Traction. And he's basically combined about 100 different of the best business books out there and combined it into one and created a process that all can follow. And it's just phenomenal. And so, but it just took me years to learn all of these things, and then actually putting it into place is a whole nother thing. And it wears you down mentally, psychologically. And so when I see, how far they've come in just 1 year, where they're now more and more becoming more formulated as an organization, and they're creating structure and policies after having gone through the hell that they've gone through, essentially, is actually pretty phenomenal. And so it's kind of like you got to give them, most projects fail because they don't have these things in place. They don't have the organization. They don't have the know-how to even, how do you hire and fire and train another developer that's on the other side of the world, and how do you actually create organization to do these things? I think just the fact, the hell that they've already been through, most projects would have failed by now. I would say most of them fail. So when you look at the market cap and it says there's 20,000 coins, 20,000 different projects, there's actually, that's not counting all the ones that just aren't even on there anymore. There's hundreds of thousands of projects that have literally just, they're not in existence anymore. They've gone to zero. Most of them fail. I think they've shown a lot of resilience, and they're always trying to improve and do better. Now, do they do that as fast as a lot of us would like? No. Like, this might be a good example. If you ask me, the weakest part about the team is the way they communicate. This is their communication and their marketing for sure, but just even the way they communicate in the AMAs and different things. But the fact they even do the AMAs in the first place already puts them light years ahead of anything else I've ever seen out there. What are your thoughts on everything I just said there?
No, I agree. I mean, the one thing that I also admire on them is their resiliency and tenacity.
Yeah.
That much has been established. That is, yes, that's true. And most other projects fail. Yes, they fail for an array of different reasons. The reality is that DFK experienced more success than it could handle, right?
Uh-huh.
Most certainly, they didn't expect for that amount of success. I mean, they were really going for contesting Axie Infinity.
Axie Infinity, right?
Right.
Yeah. Which also, they've had to learn everything the hard way too. But that's a great team. Shout out to Axie Infinity. But they made a lot of mistakes as well.
They did, but they had also investors that kept them on track.
Okay.
Which both kept them on track and provided funding.
Okay.
Okay, and to a very large degree, Axie Infinity subsidized their gaming. So in a sense, that's how they bootstrapped the economy.
Okay.
Whereas that's not the case with DFK, and certainly not the case today, where we are strapped for funds, right?
Okay. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on their partnership with Wisdom Gaming and Clayton Blockchain and all that?
I'm happy for those partnerships because, any partnership to that kind of degree unavoidably mixes DNA, brings some good, what's the word? Not interference.
Okay. Okay.
You change your behaviors, you become better, you see how the other teams operate, you get something out of that. The question is, will that be enough? And, there are a lot to be said around the Clayton choice, but I believe it's still too early to judge. They did do their due diligence, they did do their research, they focused on that problem intensely for a month, they made their decision.
Yeah.
So we still have to see how this is going to go down, how it will unravel. We don't know much about Clayton, how it's going to go down. We are, I guess, cautiously optimistic on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On the PvP game studio, yes, cool. But the biggest question remains on the air. What happened? Why did we need this partnership? Not a single word has been uttered around that. They were supposed to be working on PvP for over a year. We saw some prototypes back in April. What happened that forced the team to seek for a partnership to develop PvP, which was supposed to be the flagship?
Right.
The
But that's an
one
obvious
thing
answer, right, on what happened.
is there.
First
I
we
mean,
had
we can only make assumptions, but
we had the Frisky FUD, and Frisky, from my perspective, Frisky was just taking on so much in his brain. His head was spinning. He has a wife and several kids, I think, and he wasn't. And he's kind of empathic in the sense of like he was falling on his own sword. Maybe I should step away from the project. All this happened, all the DFK FUD, and it crashed. Okay. And then they rebounded from that. And then there was the Harmony hack, right? And because the dumping of Jewel so hard over that time, they lost some of their devs. They got down to where there's only 2 devs working on the PvP aspect of the game, right? And then
that's the most likely scenario.
Okay.
I would agree with that. But again, we don't know about, we don't know for certain. We can only speculate on that. And that's my opinion as well. I agree with you. But, let's leave that point aside. It might not be of significance anyway.
Yeah.
What is of significance is, doing like a retrospective on the performance and how we have done as a project. To my mind, to my eyes, and this is my personal opinion based on my experiences and, the things that I see, how this went down, is that ever since the inception of DFK back in August last year, and the first implementation that delivered the heroes, delivered the quests, the level ups, things that had a wow factor and amazed everybody and made everybody, get attracted to DFK. Ever since that, it has been a downfall. And I'm talking about since December 2021. And I'm not talking from a monetary perspective or market cap. This is strictly on, delivery, product, operations. Ever since the 2022, what did we get? We got, a fragmented, unrelated, unfinished, half-baked features. Land, but we don't have anything to do with the land. Perilous Journey. What happened to, the tournaments that were about to happen? Crystal Veil, the entire network.
A whole new blockchain. Yeah.
A whole new blockchain. This topic alone deserves some more attention to talk about. Training quests, leaderboards, duels. Those things were out of the roadmap. Where people, us, we are the most engaged users. We knew the roadmap by heart. When training quests landed, we didn't hear about them coming. They were like a substitute for higher experienced players, but it sounded like a patch so that you could deliver crystals. Anyway, it didn't tie too much with the gameplay, and especially when you were expecting utility on lands, you were expecting utility on the PJ. Having training quests land was uncalled for. And leaderboards, who asked for leaderboards?
Out of the blue. Their training quests were not on the roadmap, and it just kind of popped up out of the blue.
Leaderboards.
Okay, leaderboards.
Okay, who asked for that? Again, not on the roadmap, half-baked feature, got exploited, not in the malicious way, but in the way that it was meant to be used. They pulled it back. Duels. What surprised me was that they had DFK Arena trying their best to integrate with DFK since November of 2021. And then duels happened on April, May, right between the first presentation of Difky Arena to the community, and the second iteration of the Builders program. So, all of these data points tell a story, and that story is not very flattering.
Okay.
Yes, they've gone through a lot, but at the same time, they had all of the resources in the world. I mean, the team reached a point that they had 50, 60 people. They had a treasury worth hundreds of millions. So it wasn't for lack of funds.
Was it
Rather,
hundreds of millions? Did it get that high?
well, yeah, when Joel was 22, they do the multiplication. It's very easy. Yes.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that they hold them accountable, which is why didn't you sell part of the treasury to guarantee your runway? Now, to me, that reveals a very passionate but inexperienced team.
Okay.
And I can see that through many other ways, like, for instance, how the team deals with failure. In a sense, they try to cover it up versus embracing it, right? So we speculated on what happened with PvP.
Well, they came out and said that a lot of the devs left and that they were down to just 2 devs working on the PvP.
2 devs working on the PvP. Was that stated somehow?
Yeah, it was in an AMA. They straight up said that when they were first announcing Wisdom Gaming partnership, I think. They were down to just 2 devs. And I'm assuming Hubert and, another one.
Hubert, I don't believe he's a developer, but...
Oh, he's not. Hubert's not. Is Hubert part of the brains behind it, though? Like, as far as...
Yes, Hubert is the balancer. Balances the game.
And I think he's phenomenal for the game as far as a big part of the genius behind it. Okay, so I hear you there. How long have you been in crypto? How long have you been in the space?
I have been not for too long.
Okay.
But I did make the effort to get educated on it.
Okay.
So I got in 2020, and I dedicated a good 8 months just studying it, learning it, understanding the culture, the memes, the history, what goes on.
Yeah.
Versus me coming and saying, okay, I'm going to now force apply what I understand to this new land that is crypto, and going to judge everybody based on my poor understanding.
Nice. Okay. So I've been in for a while. I've been in crypto for a while. And this is some of the things I've had to endure, which shout out to the Ethereum merge. Looks like that was successful, right? It's one of the biggest days ever in crypto. I can't believe I didn't say that at the beginning of the video. But
yes, very big day.
I've been waiting on this for years and years and years and years. And they almost did it way back in 2018. And then they had to scrap the whole thing and start over from scratch. Okay. I bought Cardano back when it was less than 1 penny. Okay. When I first bought it. And I've listened to Charles Hoskinson for years upon years upon years, talking about all his grandiose things in Africa and this and that, and all the things he's going to do, banking the unbanked and da-da-da-da-da. And still to this day, it's so clunky to even connect the wallet to a DEX, and it's just
vaporware.
Sometimes forever. Hopefully this up and coming hard fork is successful. Okay. And then things like Theta, I was in very early on, hoping it would replace YouTube, baby, and all these different things. And then you actually see the execution take years. It's seemingly to get anything done. They don't communicate with what even the hell is going on with their project. You just never even know what's actually happening on the inside of the project. And things pretty much just don't get done in the space. And that's because of these very things that we've talked about. They don't have a business structural organizational understanding of how to manage people, and their feelings get hurt and they get offended and then they quit, or just all kinds of things happen. Managing staff is a whole different ball game. Okay. When you start growing, so they grew, yeah, up to 50, 60 employees. They didn't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know how to manage an organization and how to actually do that where it's not just a disaster. And then you still had Frisky Fox like doing stuff. He's like, he was putting it all on his shoulders, okay, because he doesn't know how to delegate and elevate. He doesn't know how to create a structural leadership team and, you know, create a system and a process for everything he's doing, right? He's just learning as he goes. And so when I think of duels, and I think training quests have just been a godsend. And duels, the way I've taken it the whole time, it's like a precursor sort of to PvP, to where, I mean, they're just like tippy-toeing in, creating a foundation to where they can continue to develop and build on these different things. And so from my perspective, they've been just phenomenal compared to what else you see out there. Now, I was also in Binance Coin when it was at 79 cents. It was my first purchase of Binance Coin with CZ. He's like amazing. Everything he does is the best, and he's the best. He's just phenomenal. And Cosmos, like, I've been following that since 3 years before it ever came out, and they execute, and they are just phenomenal. Everything they do, and they're battle tested at this point, and it's everything everyone wants to be able to do. They already do it. So everything that Ethereum is trying to even get to, Cosmos has been there. And so you see execution happening on high levels, but even they've had their major problems, right? Cosmos, not with the product, but just internally, right? Their team has, you know, one of the founders left and different things. It's just a mess when you try and do that. And you know, from being a developer, like, you're putting in all your blood, sweat, and tears doing this, not even knowing if it's going to be a success. And it's hard to even be motivated to do that. You're not even, it could. So to actually do what they're doing, and just, I see it as a very short amount of time. Now, could they do things way better? Yeah. Like, and that's the reason why I even started my YouTube channel, was because I want to be able to help them. And I had been talking with Frisky Fox before all this happened, because I see their weaknesses. Obviously, is going to be a business development side of things, and also in how they communicate different things isn't always the best. And so I think it then creates weird skepticism about the founders that are oftentimes, I think, unwarranted. Just the fact that they put themselves out there in the AMAs is just light years ahead of anything else I've ever seen. Like, what other project does that? Is there anyone that comes out and does these weekly AMAs with the actual founders? No one does that. It's just phenomenal that they even do that. Now, could they do it better? Yeah, I wish I could be facilitating those AMAs. Like, when a question is asked, are you guys going to sell? If you remember this question, this is after the bridge hack happened, like a week or two after, and it was like the sky was falling and everyone was freaking out. Is this project going to die? And then the way Dreamer responded to that was like, made me want to blow my brains out. It was like driving me nuts, because the immediate answer, so just this in a psychological way, the way he answered that in his engineer-minded self, like brilliant, high IQ, but he's a lawyer, like his high IQ minded self was like, well, let me think about this for a second. And the reason why his hesitancy in his brain that stopped him for a split second is that they're looking for partnerships. Okay, they're not. The answer is no. We're not going to sell. We're going to keep grinding through the bear market. Our team's going to be hard at it. Yes, we're going through it. It's been hard, but we're grinding, and we're looking for partnerships. We need help, you know? And so that's the obvious answer right away. And then it psychologically puts people at ease. But just the way he answered the question made a lot of people skeptical, right? Even about that. So, and that, on several different levels, I think happens psychologically. And so there's just constant skepticism of the team that,
And for good reason, I
okay,
believe. Both you and me have explained why. You talked about the inexperience. You talked about how they are effectively winging it, learning as they go. Right? You said those things.
yeah, but who isn't?
Yeah, and that's the key part there, because they are doing phenomenally compared to other projects.
Mhm.
Yes, compared to other projects, yes, but it is a very, very low bar.
In the space, for
Crypto
sure.
projects are effectively run by 20-year-olds that have their heads so deep in their ass that
Right.
you've seen this firsthand and experienced this firsthand.
Yes.
They are reinventing every wheel that is possible to be reinvented.
Yep.
They take 20 times the time that's needed on somebody that would know how to do it. And that is the state of the art today on crypto. Yes, we are on the forefront. Yes, we are on the bleeding edge, the avant-garde of technology, but it's ruled by 20-year-olds that are inexperienced and, most importantly, don't know to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. And they don't
Okay.
communicate well.
I mean, if we're going to compare the project that we have entrusted our hard-earned money with a project that has rugged and no longer exists, yes, it's going to look good.
Yeah. But
We
even
agree
even
there.
say like the good legit ones out there, even the good legit ones. And
Yeah, you're not going to find any operation on crypto that goes like clockwork, right?
yeah.
The thing is that this is rapidly changing now. Your the GameFi scenery is changing. People are raising 100 million, 200 million, billions are going into
Right.
the industry.
Right.
AAA games are want a piece of the cake. The fact that we still exist and we are talking here right now today is because there is no competition. Competition is coming and is very quickly catching up.
Yeah.
And the entire reason why I'm making all of this introduction and saying that, hey, look at those data points, this point towards a bad outcome, is not to be gloom and doom and bearish about DFK, but to enact action
Yeah.
and alert and awake people in the sense that, you know what, as stakeholders, we have a responsibility to be responsible stakeholders and raise our voices. If we continue, if everything that happens is applauded and welcomed as the best decision ever that has been ever made, there's no incentive for the team to become better or change. And change is needed. Dreamer said they need partnerships. Yes, they need help. Yes, we need to see that in a more tangible and more impactful way. Let me give you an example of what I believe is the way out for TFK is to have the right kind of partner, a reputable VC that has enough seats on the board that they are empowered to introduce operations, introduce know-how in the team, have an adult in the team that knows, has done this before. Everything we
Mm-hmm.
talk about and you talk about, and I'm talking about around how things should be organized so that the team can focus on what they know and do best and let
Mm-hmm.
operations, business development, marketing be run by seasoned people that know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a chance against this immense competition that is coming out.
Yeah. Even figuring that out, like hiring the right people, they're like engineer-minded guys, right? So like when
Yeah,
they think marketing, they think what the proper analytics we should do on Twitter, or something. It's like they don't even get that. So it's so hard to do. Like another one is Zilliqa that I've been following for years, and they're talk about execution, and that's not a 20-year-old guy that's running that thing. That guy's like a legit developer. It's like, man, and it's
let me ask you. Let me ask you a question.
yeah, yeah,
You are from the US, right?
yes.
Yes. So let me ask you a question. Who is the CEO? Who is the CTO? And who is the COO on DFK?
I don't know how they're structured. I know they've recently restructured.
Um,
So the president,
hint, they don't. They even them don't know the answer to that.
well, they use terms,
And that's part of the problem, right?
president, right? They have
Yeah, you have a founder and you have a president. What does that mean? You understand how things need to be hierarchical in a corporation, right?
sure.
And they need to be top to bottom. And it's not like a collective.
Uh-huh. But
Okay,
so a
you need to have
corporation,
people with roles so you understand who is responsible for what, and that radiates and trickles down to all of the operations of DFK, because at the end of the day, nobody feels responsible about anything.
yeah. But I'm saying it's easy for us to kind of sit back and point the finger like that. It's
We're not
really
sitting back. We have our hard-earned money
a
locked.
corporation. First of all,
It's not sitting back.
corporations don't just happen in 1 year ever. That they really
No,
don't.
yeah, but
So you,
I'm coming. My background is startups. My
so
bread and butter is teams, businesses that comprise of no more than 12 people.
right.
Within a 3-people team, there is structure. There is a CEO. Within a 5-people team, there is a CEO and there is a COO and a CTO. You know where to go. You know people who are responsible. They can enact policies. They can, freely apply their mind. Now, and again, it's not black or white. It's a spectrum.
A
But
massive spectrum.
a massive spectrum, yes. But observing this, then you see that you cannot be the founder or equivalent to a CEO of a 60-person team and still code. Frisky never stopped coding.
I know.
That tells something.
Right.
Then we have Dreamer as the president. So is Dreamer running the show? It should, probably, yes. We don't know. Is Dreamer equipped to do that? Does he have experience in the culture to run a high-tech company? Doesn't appear that way.
And so
He's a lawyer.
And his field of law was somewhat along those lines. They have definitely done that. So they have now established, and we don't know exactly. I don't know if they've come out and made it clear to the community the different roles, but I know they've done that internally. I do know that much.
Done what internally?
They've established the organization, and they've been putting a great deal of focus on that, for sure. That has been big time.
We can assume that. I mean, there are some positive things that come out. For instance, as I was hammering on the moderators, now it's been 3-4 weeks that things are changing. They are becoming more laxed. They are becoming more, let's call it better in a sense. There are many issues that are out of scope of this conversation now, revolving around moderation in Discord, but things appear to be improving. The partnerships are steps towards the right direction. Indeed. So positive things are happening, but we don't know if those were forced or are part of a bigger change shift in strategy that hasn't been spelled out or articulated in the form that would put me at ease, at least. Okay, we make up stuff with our minds. We construct a picture that we want to see. That's called our bias. It doesn't necessarily reflect the reality. Let me give you another viewpoint. Feedback. The team has proven to be completely incapable of accepting feedback from anywhere it came. And you see that first of all, on the features that they deliver, which are completely disconnected from the community. Of course, we would find 50 holes on the leaderboards should that come out as a proposal. Hey, folks, we are thinking of implementing leaderboards. Here's the tech spec. Here is the stories of how this is going to go down. Of course, we would, come back with feedback as a community to say, this and this can be botted. This and this can be exploited. It has to go full cycle. They have to expend the resources, which are the most expensive ones, implement the feature, put it out there, and then pull it back out and do a very, very heavy cycle. Now, there was a question around feedback itself, and my takeaway was that basically the moderators copy paste lines from Discord and copy and paste them to the developers Slack. The developers have Slack. They're not in Discord.
Yeah.
Okay. Their operations and communication happens on Slack. So that is the form of feedback that was in place. Now, after a lot of backslash, they said, okay, here is a feedback website, the RapidR website, which is an atrocious service. To anybody that understands the internet and has the slightest exposure to the internet, they understand, the degree of atrociousness RapidR is. It's like a cheap prototype, cheap copy of the user voice, which is, the most premium, expensive service to collect feedback. And so they put this up.
Talk.defykingdoms.com. You don't like it.
Well, if you're going to create a topic there, you get anyway. This requires some certain expertise to understand how bad that product is as a product. Anyway, that aside, what talk.defykingdoms.com is effectively a cemetery of lost dreams and hopes. There's not a single feedback that has been raised by users that has been received or actioned by the team. And you're going to find 50, nearly 100 at this point, proposals, suggestions. It doesn't have the capability nor the capacity to accept, process, and let alone act on user feedback. So that loop is broken. And we're talking about decades of software development methodologies here. This is what agile development is about.
Right.
Shortening that cycle around, the feedback loop with the clients. These are 90s decade kind of methodologies practiced here. And, again, to an experienced person, to a person that has been on the industry for at least 10 years, a developer, product manager, these are all naked things to view. They're not like my opinion, it's evident.
So what do you think they could do better?
And I want to close with that. Is that what I feel that is important is that the team understands their shortcomings and tries to find the right people to fill those gaps. Help bring in people that can fill in the holes where they're not good at. But first, for this to happen, it has to be identified.
It has to be identified. That's true. So what would be a better way they could do the talk.defykingdoms.com, do you think?
Listen, this isn't just about putting out a website. This is an entire process that needs to be instated and woven within the organization's operations.
Right.
You need to be multi-channel in collecting feedback. You need to collect feedback from the website. You need to collect feedback from forums, user surveys, Twitter. There are all sorts of ways and means to collect the feedback. You've read Traction. The channels are laid out there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, on how you do that. Then there needs to be a process that this feedback that's collected gets triaged and assessed, and then takes its road onto the Kanban board or Jira or whatever project management tool you might have, so that it finds its way into product eventually. None of those exists. It's completely scattered, disorganized. Yes, you have busted our balls, because what happened was, you have the builders fiasco. The second iteration of accepting builders applications was the builders website, which is a discourse forum. And that discourse forum, the builders website, started being overused for feedback. in a sense, abused because it was supposed to be for proposals to be submitted. But at the time that it existed, it was the only mean to have some written document forum to express your thoughts and ideas around how things, how you believe, give some feedback. Up until then, there was absolutely no way to collect feedback. It was only literally copying lines from Discord and pasting them on Slack. That was the method of collecting feedback. You understand how ridiculous that is, right? So,
Well,
and after all of that pressure,
I would
they
definitely
created
say,
the RapidR website, which is effectively abandoned. I mean, the only utility that website has when it comes to DFK operations is reading, and they don't even do that right, reading the questions on the AMA section. If you go to talk, you're going to see they have 7 sections. One of them is the AMA questions. That's the only part that is actively worked on. And that's why now you see proposals that should be on the other sections get posted on the AMA, because that's the only part where the team reads.
mm-hmm.
Now, do you monitor how this goes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. 100%. Yeah. So I would say, from a big stepping back here, taking a step back and looking at this, I would say I completely disagree with the point you're making. Now, on a maybe a macro or a micro scale, could they improve? Obviously, yes. But either in the business world with CEOs and COOs and with traction and all those things, or in the world of crypto, you're not going to find a project or a business out there that does better at considering suggestions and listening to the community. Not even close. Nothing out there is even close. So
why do you say that?
Because just give me an example of anything that does better out there in the business world or in crypto. Anything. Give me one example that does better than DeFi Kingdoms.
First of all, any startup that wants to survive depends on user feedback.
Sure.
They're going to pay you $50 to use their website and tell your experience around it.
Right.
There's no way you work on the startup industry today without this being your mantra. We need user feedback. We need to put our product out there to the users, get some feedback, iterate.
Right. And we all know it's a waste of time. You give your feedback and they're not listening. You respond to get their feedback email, or on the phone call. Like with Twitter.
I don't know if you're talking about Twitter or Apple or Google, but that's a wholly different scale. Okay. Google is not going to listen to your feedback. They have different means of collecting feedback. They deal with millions of requests and interactions. They aggregate all of those and they draw their conclusions out of there. Of course, those companies became what they are due to the feedback cycle.
So give me an example. Give me a real world example of a team or a business or a company that does a better job than DeFi Kingdoms at listening to community feedback.
Difky Bot, you know this firsthand?
Oh yeah, Carlo, he's phenomenal. Okay,
DFK Analytics. I'm just giving you examples from within the same ecosystem.
Okay.
Which you know firsthand. Okay. Neindorf and Ruff, DFK Adventures.
Phenomenal.
Okay, those are professionals because I know them personally.
Yeah,
and they know the job. They know that the products get built through iteration. Okay. And it's not just because they're in close contact and proximity with their users. They might want to say, don't care about what users say. I'm going to go ahead and do my own thing. This could happen, and this has happened. And you see those projects wither out, and we don't know about them because we don't talk about them any longer. That's how this works. We get a lot of questions from the chat.
Yeah, I know. Lots of stuff cooking in the chat. Good stuff. Well, which I was definitely going to hit, but I'm still okay. So the reason even why I'm in DeFi Kingdoms in the first place is the way they listen to the community. Like that's one of their strongest aspects of anything that I've ever seen, either in business or in crypto, period.
Through AMAs, right? That's what.
Through AMAs and through all the different means. Like I literally went on there.
What other means do you mean? Because I'm interested in.
I mean, I just went on Discord and made a comment one time, and Frisky Fox responded to me.
Okay, you made a comment and Frisky Fox responded.
Yeah,
what was that about? Was something changed?
And then Frisky Fox personally messaged me, and we were in dialogue about this very thing, their business and organizational structure.
Was there change enacted?
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Can you talk about it, or is it secret?
Phenomenal. Yeah, they've talked about it. So Dreamer.
Can you talk about the change that happened after you
structure organization? And they've done this faster. Sure, I can tell you this, a hell of a lot faster than I was able to do in my businesses that succeeded. Like I was.
So you made a suggestion to Frisky that they need to restructure their business, and they immediately acted upon that feedback, and they restructured DFK, is what you're saying?
I wouldn't say immediately acted on the feedback. Who am I? I'm one guy of what, 94,000 people, on their Discord or whatever. But he listened to me. He heard me out. Big time.
They do listen. Don't get me wrong. They are very good listeners. Okay, I have talked both with Frisky and Dreamer and effectively everybody on the ladder. Don't get me wrong here. Yeah, and they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. The thing is, what do their actions tell? That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm asking you. Because you say they listen. Okay, they listened. Have they enacted, literally?
Yeah.
On the advice you gave?
Sure. I would say yes. Absolutely. Better than anything else I've ever seen. And so, but it's still, how easy it would be for me to get kind of pissed off, because I don't feel like they've totally listened to me. Like I was talking about, I would like to get in there and be a moderator for their AMAs. Okay. But that has fallen on deaf ears. So they still have Bolin in there, who I don't think that's the right seat for Bolin to be the moderator for the AMAs. Now, I think Bolin is good for the team. He's, I think, good for the project and a good guy. But that's not what his strength is, being a moderator. So it would be easy for me to kind of get embittered against them a little bit. Like, Frisky, let me get in there and moderate your AMAs. Okay. And then it falls on deaf ears and then it kind of grows in my mind a little bit of like, these idiots, they could do these AMAs. They could create so much hype around the project like Charles Hoskinson does with Cardano. Okay. I feel like I could get in there and create a cult following for DeFi Kingdoms in the same way Charles Hoskinson has done for Cardano. And it pisses me off that they don't. It drives me crazy being a marketing messaging guy. It pisses me off. They suck at it. Okay. So, and I could let that thought develop in my mind and get way out of whack, in this perspective, because I can tell you right now, being an employee of multiple businesses and then having started my own businesses and being involved in multiple crypto projects, this team's strength is being in tune with the community, listening to the community, and doing their very best to execute on what the community wants. So I would
we can agree to disagree on this. I have laid out very, very concrete examples of why I believe that's not the case. I would like to answer Tony's question, which is very important and very on point, which is...
Okay, go ahead.
He goes like, a question for Thanos. Despite of all the negatives you speak about, you are still here, actively involved and contributing to the community. Yeah. Why? What is it about DFK that keeps you here? So again, a couple of things. I'm not saying, those things to be gloom and doomy, or bearish about DFK. I'm saying those things as are things that I observe and with an intention of improving them. I've been a very vocal critic of DFK in writing and now also on voice, but always with a suggestion of how things can improve. Okay. And to answer the question straightforward is that I'm quite invested in the ecosystem. Okay. I have more than 10 Gen Zeros, 300 heroes, and I have a guild, one of the biggest guilds in Defi Kingdoms, and I have the Difky service, which, despite all of my expectations, is doing very well, actually, at this point. I believe I am the biggest third party by revenue count at this point.
Yeah.
I'm doing very well, and
so
I'm happy for that. But I do know that that's not as
to the team. Your heart behind it is just to want to help the eco. You want to help the team and help the ecosystem, and you don't
absolutely. And I'm making all of these points to draw a single point that the team needs help, and they first need to come to the realization that they need help, and second, find the appropriate help. And that is why I have a question right now queued on the AMA. It's the top voted question at this point, which is, give us an update on the fundraising that you started back on June. Because that's where I have, in a sense, put all of my hopes around DFK's bullishness, which is going to find the right partner to raise the funds they need, like 50, 60, 100 millions. That partner is going to get a significant percentage of Kingdom Studios, 33%, 40%. They're going to get 2-3 seats on the board. And everything's going to go on rails from here on out with people that are professional on their subject matter experts, seasoned professionals, 30, 40, 50-year-olds, with the entire, entourage that the VC comes with, which are advisors, networks, etc. And we're going to be on the path to success. Because right now,
when you say that, I say they've done that. They've done that.
No, hardly.
Everything you just said, they've already put in place.
Hardly.
How well have they communicated it?
Hardly. No.
They haven't communicated. Yes, they have.
There is nobody sitting at the top level right now advising and coaching leadership.
Sure.
That's what
now, have they communicated all this properly? No, but everything you just laid out, I'm like, yep, that's exactly what DeFi Kingdoms is doing.
That has been the trajectory they chose themselves to take, and that had been elaborated back in June. Yes. The question is, hey folks, where are we on that trajectory? Because the trajectory I'm talking about is the fundraise. They did a partnership. They did a second partnership. They raised some short-term runway money. They said that much. That is short-term runway money. Okay. It's rumored that they got 400K. 400K with their burn rate is not going to be enough for a year.
Well, but with the way they've structured their partnership with Wisdom Gaming, for example, Wisdom, the way that the whole structure went down is that Wisdom, the success of the game from Wisdom's perspective, the way they're going to make money is going to be the long game. So that's how they didn't have to come up with a bunch of money to make that work.
We agree there.
Now 2 seats. So they've added, to the board.
We agree, but that is a branch. Okay. I'm talking about leadership positions and seats and coaching and mentorship. That's what's badly needed. Yes, they settled PvP. It's going to have guaranteed success. Now the question is, will DFK have enough funds to exist in 2023? Do you know
that? We don't have the exact timeline, but I know that's the goal.
Well, the goal is to fundraise, and that is the question.
They are being more careful about their timeline projections, but no one ever keeps their timeline. I've never seen a project actually hit the timeline of their.
No, this isn't about a timeline, and this isn't about time pressuring us right now, because, as they said, Clayton has poured funds, so we have taken a breath. The question is, okay, longer term, can we raise 30 million and put everybody to dust.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't like that. I don't even know everything I see out there that does that. I mean, I think the way they've structured things is exceptional up to this point. Seeing the big picture, it's been 1 year. And so to Dr. Olgan Kemal, okay, I disagree with that. So their action is not for their gain. It's the opposite. So the whole tokenomics.
What is he saying?
So he said, poorly, all their action is just for their gain, not for the majority of people who invested in the game. Look, I swapped from Jewel to Crystal because everyone knew the Jewel release of Locked Jewel in the middle of the game. You change all the rules. Okay. And I dealt with this with Climb Crypto. I was like, no, they've said multiple times that they're going to address the issue. And it was a brilliant change, and it only hurt the team. So the team has a huge chunk of the Locked Jewel, and they're essentially forfeiting the better coin. Okay. And getting in return the same thing we got. And so never.
I disagree with that as well. I mean, the team is trying for the best for everybody. They understand that if everybody wins, they win.
Yes. So
there's no need to question that motive.
Yeah, they're looking out for the best interests of the community, even over their own best interest. Is what I would say.
Absolutely, yes.
And so when people were saying when Crystal was literally over double the value of Jewel, I was screaming from the hilltops. Okay, yes, the token release up and coming is a concern, but the team said they will address it. Don't dump your Jewel to buy Crystal right now when it's double the price. Like at that point, there's no use case for Crystal because everything is double. To summon, to actually use the token of Crystal in game is crazy at that point. And so we knew they would create a solution. And I thought it was given the circumstances, it was brilliant long-term. The long-term of what they did.
I like the new tokenomics as well.
Yeah.
They definitely gave us, a breath.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean that's
that's
barely enough. That was like the minimum required step you needed to make, or you die.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's what was at stake there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did that right. They're going to execute it. Okay, no doubt about that.
Yeah,
I'm concerned about our long-term, prospects, and I'm eager to listen to the answer to my question on the AMA that starts in a few seconds. So we do.
Yeah, right now the AMA is starting. Okay, so I guess we better hop off, dude. Hey, we could talk for hours. So
yes,
one thing that I'm big on is letting everyone have a voice. And if you disagree, we're not just gonna drink the Kool-Aid here. So that's not what I'm ever trying to promote.
Sir.
So I appreciate you just being able to speak your thoughts about this. And I love this dialogue. I want to do it again. I want to do it some more with you. So let's.
Absolutely.
I know you're busy developing.
I'm very happy we had this conversation.
Yes, I love it. So we can talk more on this. I appreciate you. I think you've been a really good help to the ecosystem of DeFi Kingdoms. So I appreciate
Likewise, you too.
Love you. All right, guys, we're going to jump
Let's go to the AMA. Thank you very much.
Okay, love you. We'll see you guys. I'll post the Difky Discord in the description once this is done. Okay, love you guys. Love you. Dan the man. Thanos. Ooh, love you. Okay.